Super Rugby Pacific officials have admitted that a controversial try scored by Chiefs lock Tupou Vaa'i during his side's opening round victory over the Blues should not have been awarded, sparking renewed debate around players' safety, interpretation of the laws, and consistency in officiating at the elite level. The Hamilton-based Chiefs kicked off their 2026 Super Rugby Pacific campaign with a gritty 19-15 triumph over the Blues at Eden Park in Auckland. It was a result that set the tone for their season, resilient, clinical, and fiercely contested. However, despite the significance of the win, the match has since been overshadowed by a key refereeing decision in the first half that has ignited widespread discussion across the rugby world. The moment that sparked the debate, the flashpoint, occurred in the 31st minute when Vaa'i powered his way toward the Blues try line following a sustained period of pressure from the Chiefs. Receiving the ball close to the line, the towering second rower launched himself forward in what appeared, at first glance, to be a spectacular, acrobatic finish. With two Blues defenders positioned low in front of him, Vaa'i executed a swan dive, stretching out to ground the ball over the line. Referee Ben O'Keefe did not hesitate. Confident in his on-field view and supported by his assistant officials, he awarded the try without referral for further review. The conversion attempt followed, and play resumed, with little indication at the time that the decision would later come under official scrutiny. But in the hours after the match, and following widespread reaction from fans, pundits, and former players, Super Rugby Pacific undertook a formal review of the incident. Their conclusion was unequivocal. The try should not have stood. Official statement from Super Rugby Pacific. In a statement released after reviewing the footage, Super Rugby Pacific management clarified their position on the matter. Super Rugby Pacific management has reviewed the decision to award a try to Chiefs player Tupou Vaa'i in the 32nd minute of Saturday's Round 1 game against the Blues. The review concluded that Vaa'i's actions constituted leaving the ground to avoid a tackle, rather than simply diving forward to score a try, and that as a result the try should not have been awarded. The governing body went on to cite the relevant law provision under World Rugby Clarification 3/2022, which provides guidance on when diving for the try line is permissible and when it crosses into dangerous play. The law explained under World Rugby's clarification, a player is permitted to dive forward in a genuine attempt to score a try. However, if a player leaves the ground to avoid a tackle, effectively hurdling or jumping over a defender, the action is deemed dangerous and must be sanctioned. The law states, in principle, in a try-scoring situation, if the action is deemed to be a dive forward for a try, then it should be permitted. If a player is deemed to have left the ground to avoid a tackle, or to jump or hurdle a potential tackler, then this is dangerous play and should be sanctioned accordingly. The distinction may appear subtle, but it carries significant implications. Rugby authorities have increasingly emphasized player welfare in recent years, with particular focus on minimizing high-speed aerial collisions. A defender attempting a tackle on a grounded ball carrier operates within predictable parameters. But when an attacker launches into the air, it introduces additional danger, both for the airborne player and for the tackler who may make contact with legs, knees, or hips at awkward angles. According to the review panel, Vaa'i's action fell into the latter category. Rather than simply diving low toward the line, they determined that he had elevated himself to avoid contact with would-be tacklers, thereby creating a potentially hazardous situation at a match-defining moment. The Chiefs ultimately won the contest by 4 points, 19-15. Vaa'i's try contributed significantly to that total, and although it is impossible to say with certainty how the game would have unfolded had the try been disallowed, the moment undoubtedly influenced momentum. For the Blues, who were defending their home turf at Eden Park, the decision proved costly. In a fixture traditionally marked by intensity and narrow margins, a single refereeing call can shift the psychological balance of the match. That said, Super Rugby Pacific's admission does not alter the official result. The Chiefs retain their victory, and the standings remain unchanged. But the controversy has fueled debate about the consistency of officiating and the role of post-match reviews. Social media reaction, the incident quickly gained traction online, with journalists and fans weighing in on the interpretation of the law. Alex Lowe, rugby correspondent for The Times, drew a comparison to a similar high-profile finish in international rugby. Posting on X, formerly Twitter, he wrote that Vaa'i appeared to emulate a Superman try reminiscent of a famous Lions moment, but that officials had since ruled it should not have stood. He highlighted the key phrase from the governing body statement. Vaa'i's actions constituted leaving the ground to avoid a tackle, rather than diving forward to score a try. His post concluded with a pointed question: legal or illegal finish? That question captures the essence of the debate. To many viewers in real time, the try looked spectacular but legitimate. Others immediately questioned whether the lock had effectively hurdled defenders. Elliott Smith, lead commentator for News Talk ZB's Rugby Direct podcast, also addressed the controversy, succinctly noting that Super Rugby Pacific had confirmed the try should have been disallowed. Meanwhile, fans offer a mixture of frustration, sarcasm, and vindication. One ex-user, Harrison Dale, simply posting, "There you have it." The broader context, player safety and law evolution. This incident arrives at a time when rugby union continues to grapple with how best to balance spectacle and safety. In recent seasons, governing bodies have tightened regulations around head contact, tackle height, and dangerous play. The objective has been clear: reduce risk while preserving the essence of the game. Aerial contests and jumping to avoid tackles sit squarely within that conversation. When attackers leap over defenders, the collision risk can escalate dramatically. Defenders may instinctively attempt to complete the tackle, leading to mid-air impacts or awkward landings. World Rugby's clarification was designed to remove ambiguity, yet the Vaa'i incident demonstrates how interpretation remains subjective in high-speed scenarios. Referees must make split-second decisions, often with obstructed sight lines and limited angles. While the television match official, TMO, system provides support, not every incident is automatically reviewed in detail. In Vaa'i's case, the try was awarded promptly, suggesting that on-field officials believed it fell within the acceptable bounds of a forward dive. Refereeing under the spotlight for Ben O'Keefe, one of New Zealand's most experienced referees, the decision adds to the ongoing scrutiny that match officials face in professional rugby. Referees operate in an environment where every call is dissected in slow motion, replayed across social media, and debated by pundits long after the final whistled. It is important to note that Super Rugby Pacific statement did not single out O'Keefe for criticism. Instead, it framed the issue as a clarification of law application. Nevertheless, the admission underscores how even experienced officials can interpret borderline situations differently from post-match review panels. The episode also raises questions about transparency. Some observers argue that if a try is later deemed illegal under existing laws, there should be mechanisms for more immediate correction during the game itself. Others contend that rugby's human element, including occasional errors, is intrinsic to the sport. For the Blues, however, the review may feel bittersweet. Confirmation that the try should not have been awarded does little to soften the disappointment of defeat. Yet it may offer some validation to players and supporters who felt aggrieved in the immediate aftermath that in a competition as tightly contested as Super Rugby Pacific, early season results can have lasting implications for playoff positioning. Matches between New Zealand franchises are often decided by fine margins, making refereeing accuracy all the more critical. Legal